Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Town Hall. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your presence. Please continue to keep your attention on, I believe we have an active chat. I know that Dana is going to be helping me keep an eye on that. Thank you for being here. I want to be sure I just get my notes and welcome everybody here. Just a couple of updates before we get started, and then I will call on particular people to share updates with you because I know you very much want to hear our COVID updates because those are very important. So first and foremost, thank you, all of you. I cannot believe that we're already at October the 5th. I looked and we have 11 Fridays till the holiday break, if you can believe it or not. It's amazing. So thank you all of you that have done the very, very hard work of making sure that we start our fall off as well as we could, considering that we are continuing to not be in COVID crisis, but now in COVID maintenance, right? So just a couple of things. Thank you to our public safety officers and all our essential workers. Thank you to our facilities team. I think you all should definitely give them a rousing round of applause. They are busy around this campus. They have completed quite a few capital projects that had been shelved for quite a while. So we are excited to celebrate this fall the unveiling of quite a few spaces and projects that were in pending phase for quite a while. So we're going to share that with you later on in the fall. Thank you for your patience around food services. We do have the Cardinal Cafe open. Of course, we have plenty of concessions in the concessions machines. We are continuing to look at other options. As a reminder, we were hopeful that CUNY Central was going to participate in a process and get a vendor for the full university. That process, to some extent, was put on hold, and they are now talking about what the next step is. So we're not quite sure whether or not we're going to be looking for our own vendor or whether they're going to go back at that larger process. But please, thank you for your patience with the food services, and thank you for my team, VP Charles and AVP Perez, for making sure that we got that Cardinal Cafe open. Thank you for that. Just a couple of other things. Please be mindful that we have to keep on pushing uphill with making sure that we get our work done that we promised that we would do in our strategic plan. Our plan is not to be on the shelf. It has to be a living document. And that means that we have to stay on top of all of our assessment work and make sure that we work with Dr. Lori Hefner and her team to push those projects that we think that we can, and to assess and quantify all the great things that we're doing. All right, so because I want us to be focused on supporting the community in their COVID questions, I'm going to stop right here with my updates. And then if we have some gaps to fill, I will definitely always have more announcements to give. I am going to start this morning with Dana. Dana, if you could give a sense of your updates, and then I'm going to go to VP Karen. VP Dana / Chief of Staff is going to go first. Then VP Karen's going to go give us some numbers, some vaccine numbers to give us some context, okay? And then we're going to talk a little bit, we'll go from there. I don't know that, Claudio, you may have some technology updates for people that you want to share, but let's see where the conversation goes from there. All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to focus my updates on a few areas and then give Claudio an opportunity to maybe do some updating about entry protocols and procedures and how those are going and the use of the apps on campus. And then I'm sure VP Karen will have some updates about the communication, the particular communications with student groups at this time around vaccinations. So just a reminder, if you go onto the CUNY website and you click on the banner on the top of their page, you will be able to take a look at university-wide data for all campuses for reported cases. And those are cases that are reported through Cleared For, which is the CUNY testing procedure, as well as cases that are reported to us from outside of that testing process. And so that's an opportunity for the university, and Claudio just put that in the chat. It's an opportunity for the university to be transparent about numbers and what's happening on the campuses. And so I am the person who puts in that data to the system. And so any cases that are reported to me are entered into what we call the checkbox, and that is what feeds into that reporting table. I'd like to thank all of the faculty and staff who have followed up to share reported cases. Thank you. That is the protocol. We ask that if a student has reported to a faculty member or a staff member that they are positive, it is helpful for us to have that information. The majority of the time, we have the information already, but we want to make sure that we're capturing every case and every student that has a need. And if you forward me information about a faculty member or a staff member themselves who are positive, I work with Sabrina and Elgin and the HR team to make sure that everyone is followed up with. I think the other piece of information is that we still are managing a variety of calls and questions about COVID, about just a variety of things. And Claudio and I do our best to answer those questions. Sometimes we need to get information from CUNY. Sometimes we're able to answer them ourselves, but please continue to send us those questions so that we can keep the community informed. And then finally, just as a reminder, we, when we do get reported cases, we work with CUNY Central and we work with the Department of Health to make decisions about next steps in working with the individual who is positive, as well as with those who are considered close contacts to those individuals. And I think those are the updates that I have for now. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. But I think Claudio can give some updates just about what's happening at the campus entry procedures.
Sure, thank you, Dana. In terms of the flow of students and faculty and administrator to the campus is being more fluid. This week there have been in other weeks, and this is due to the fact that students, faculty, and staff have been uploading their vaccination records. We still have a few faculty that and administrators, as well as students that are still in the process of uploading the vaccination records. We have people up front helping anyone who needs assistance uploading this information. It happens. You may have experienced it that when you are downloading the vaccination records, if you select the Excelsior box, it failed. So we are bypassing that step. And when the vaccination verification is done by HR, if it is the case of an administrator or faculty, it can be processed immediately without issue. The same happened with the students. In terms of there are some students that are having issues getting still their link from the Clear 4. And we have seen that also for faculty and administrators. And we have found that those people that have uploaded their vaccination records to CUNY First earlier, when Clear 4 wasn't even in the horizon, they were not included into that batch. So we have been creating tickets for central office, and we have been communicating directly to the person who can upload that information, and we are addressing that on a daily basis immediately. As we send information, they're very responsive to make sure that that person is included in Clear 4, and I'm personally sending the Clear 4 link to those people, and at the same time guiding users to start using the York Cardinal app, as well as the VaxPass from York College, to help them enter the campus. The York VaxPass is good for your college, and if the student or the faculty administrator need to visit another campus, they need to make sure that they have the Clear 4 link available on their phone. We're seeing approximately between 25 to 35 people a day. So it has dropped down from the 100 that we were seeing at the beginning. And I think that we're good at this point. If you have any question, you can let me know.
Put your questions in the chat. Thank you. I hope all that was helpful. Thank you, Claudio. All right, VP Karen, do you want to tell us a little bit about our numbers and where we stand right now?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. So from our local vaccine authority, Dr. Marva Frederick, the numbers as of Friday were that 5,750 of our students were vaccinated and approved. There is 471 in a status called under review, which means they have gotten both doses or whatever total number of doses were required for that vaccination, but they are still within the 14-day window. Because as we all know, fully vaccinated includes the doses as well as the 14 days post. That group within health services is working with 386 students who are vaccinated and not approved, which means there's some issue related to the upload, most likely, or that there might be a dosage missing from the upload. And let's see. I will mention that there were 23 requests for medical exemptions, 5 not approved. Religious exception requests were 143 with 35 not approved. And at this time, I will share that a letter has gone out to the student community from me directly. This was a follow-up to a communication or previous communications that had been going out from central office. We are sharing information about a vaccine van, which is available on campus right now, has been since yesterday. Their hours are from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. They carry the second dose of Pfizer, as well as the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And for those members of the community who would like it, they also have booster shots available. And then the final thing I will mention is that the information about that vaccine van has been put out onto the Cardinal app, as well as we're actually initiating a text campaign that goes along with the letter that's providing additional instruction. So that's all I have at this time. With thanks to our local vaccine authority, as well as her designees for getting this information together. I will add one more quick thing, as it was pointed out to me, the math will seem off because the information, as Claudio has shared, is dynamic. It's constantly being updated as we continue to work with students who are attempting to upload documents directly into CUNY first, or for those who are coming to the Guy Brewer entrance needing assistance with uploads. So thank you.
All right, VP Karen, there's a couple of questions in the chat.
Yes.
Dana, you have comment?
Sure. So there's a question about outlining the appeal process. Fabiola, I'm not sure, is it the appeal process for the WA grades or the appeal process for possibly medical or religious exemptions? Do you want to clarify that?
All right, so we have a general
for
idea
both.
of our,
It's for,
Okay.
she's asking for both, please.
okay. All right, well, we can either put that in the chat, or do you want to, VP Karen, do you want to speak to that verbally? You're muted.
I was just going to say thank you. The guidance for the appeals process for the WA has been sent to the students. If the proof of the vaccination is submitted and has been processed and the student believes that they received the WA in error, they are to reach out to Dr. Marva Frederick to help resolve that issue. I also want to address, oh, right, thank you. Someone just messaged me to say the vaccine van information is also on the website. The last thing I will share is, I see in the chat, what are the number of unvaccinated students? What I can share with you is that as of Friday, 778 students had not uploaded any information at all. They could be unvaccinated, they could be vaccinated and just not uploaded the documents, but that number as of Friday was 778.
So a couple of things, and I will ask the provost to go next after I say this. We are doing all we can to take the guidance that we have received, right? And to have targeted communication with our students and have communication with our faculty so that we can, when we do get to the WA point, have as clear information and data as possible as to safeguard any students being in that situation inappropriately. We're doing all we can, right? Trying to over communicate and be clear in that way. Provost, do you want to help me a little bit more with this particular point as it relates to the faculty?
Yes, thank you, President. So we had just presented to the department chairs our goals and our process for assigning the WA grades, our criteria for assigning the WA grades. That will be going out to the faculty as a whole shortly. The gist of it is we're trying to strike this balance between making sure of the safety and health of our students, staff, and faculty, balancing that against trying to make sure that students who are making the attempt to be vaccinated to comply with the mandate are actually, that attempt is being taken into consideration. So situations such as a student who is in a hybrid course that is no longer going to be meeting in person, if they are unvaccinated, they will not be deregistered. They will not get the WA. And so we're going to be sending out all of this information again to the departments, to the faculty. Part of this is we're going to need the responses from people who are teaching hybrid courses. So we're going to be sending out a survey to each instructor that's teaching a hybrid course to get information as to whether or not they are going to be having any in-person courses, and if so, what's the nature of that in-person required meeting. So again, we've already informed the chairs of this. We've asked the chairs to reach out to all of their instructors who are teaching hybrid courses to let them know this is coming so that they can make sure they get this information back to as soon as possible. I ask that you do the same if you're teaching a hybrid course, or if you know other instructors who are also teaching hybrid courses, please let them know that this is coming and that they should get this back to us as soon as possible so that we can protect those students. Thank you.
Thank you, Provost. Please continue to put your questions in the chat. Just let me also highlight something. We have already started working on the spring schedule. The chairs have been working with the Provost and the Office of Academic Affairs and the deans to be sure that they are preparing themselves for the spring. Let me add that in the context of DOE being 99% principals vaccinated, 96% teachers vaccinated, and the ongoing conversation around vaccine mandate, this will stay a fluid conversation for all of us in the city, in the state, and in the country. I preface that with the fact that we are planning and hoping to be more in person in the spring. So I need your support with that. And I need your support in two ways, right? To say what your concerns are, right? And to voice whatever questions you're hearing. What would make it more conducive in your mind? What are we not thinking about, right? But I also want you to understand that we are always going to advocate for safety, right? Clarity, transparency, and as much communication as we can. And we are, again, dealing in challenging times where we sometimes get information and then we need to decipher it and get to the next thing, then get it to you. So thank you for your patience. Dana, how's the chat? I'm not watching, I was talking.
Nope, I'm good. So we have two questions that I think are still pending in the chat. The first one, Claudio, maybe you can help me answer. Folks are asking if you should have a new token and refresh it daily, even if we are vaccinated. And I think the answer to that question is yes, because ideally we'd like for that to happen, because if an individual needs to not be on campus for a matter of quarantine, your token would look different based on that. And so it would be ideal if that token is refreshed, even though if you are vaccinated, you're going to remain vaccinated. Claudio, did you want to add to that?
Yes, you're correct, Dana, and the information that is collected from the Clear4 app, as well as what the Your College app provides, is dynamic. It's dynamic information. Currently, it is pulling information on whether you have uploaded or not your vaccination records, or if there is or if you have reported symptoms and you have reported you're positive, that changes to red. And the Your College app, it will always give you the most recent information, and you will see that the clock is ticking and it's live data. It's not a picture, it's not a PDF. And actually the application is going to ask you to log in only once a week, just to make sure that the information is not remaining stagnant.
Thank you, Claudio. Provost, there's a question about high flex classes where attendance is optional. And what does that mean for the students in those classes who are not vaccinated?
Thanks. Actually, I just finished typing.
Oh,
that.
okay.
But the answer is that the assigning of the WA grades are only going to be for in-person and hybrid courses. High flex courses are not in danger simply because the student, as you rightly mentioned, can attend that class remotely for the entire class.
All right,
So
questions.
I think we've answered all the questions in the chat up till this point.
Fantastic. All right, good.
Actually, we have one more. How, and this may be a combination, Provost, of folks, how would we respond to a student that has both in-person and hybrid courses? Who should we refer the student to? If, for example, like the hybrid courses were dropped due to not being vaccinated. So I guess we are going to have a number of students who may continue to be in some of their classes, but may be dropped from others.
Correct. So if you have a student who is unvaccinated, who is taking an fully online course, a hybrid course, and an in-person course, it is quite possible for the student to get the WA grades in the in-person course and the hybrid course, but still be enrolled in the online course and receive a grade for that online course. Does that answer the question?
Is that good? Okay.
Yes.
Great. All right, couple of other things. Charles, do you have any other facilities, things you want to tell anybody while we're getting some questions?
Not really. I just like to comment. I had my booster shot over the weekend, and I was floored for essentially 2 days. I couldn't get out of bed on Sunday, and I still had a fever yesterday morning. So just be careful if you get your booster shot to give yourself at least a day afterwards. My wife, on the other hand, had no side effects whatsoever. So just be careful.
Thank you. All right, anybody else have general announcements or things for our town hall community? I know we've been very focused on COVID. So we've got an update on our entry policies. We've talked about communicating with the students, the targeted group. We have an updated number on who's been vaccinated so far and has uploaded. We have help for the students at the Welcome One-Stop Center right inside the front door if they need help with their entry information and also uploading their other information. We sang the praises of the Cardinal Cafe. Thank goodness we can get a cup of coffee these days, right? So let's see what else we have going on.
There's some additional questions in the chat. Students who receive exemptions for vaccines, how are students who receive exemptions for vaccines being advised in terms of attendance? So anyone who has a religious or medical exemption at this time, we'll be able to, and VP Karen, if this has changed in the last 24 hours and I missed it, please let me know. But they will be able to attend activities and classes on campus if they continue to test. They will have to test on a regular basis. But there is a caveat that if numbers or state health regulations or guidance suggest otherwise, there may need to have to be an accommodation for those students. It's all about the safety of the campus. So right now, those students will have to continue to test in order to be on campus. We are,
Correct.
thanks to the folks in student activities and student life, they have worked to continue to have the mobile van on campus. But it depends on, we've asked, but it depends when they're available. So we got them again to come this week. We can continue to ask, but there's lots of folks now with the booster shots. So they are welcome to campus, but we will confirm and share that information as we get it. There's a question when the WA grades go in. I don't want to speak on the exact moment. I don't know that I have that information. VP Karen, do you have that?
Beginning October 8th.
Okay. So we have some questions about evening services. The first question, and I'm not sure if Lieutenant Suarez or someone from Public Safety is on the call, but there's a question, is the 160th entrance open for night classes? I don't know that.
I believe this is a follow-up question.
Okay.
Because I think that Fabiola mentioned that there were some people who were concerned about nighttime interest and egress. Am I right, Fabiola? I believe so. Charles, do you? Yeah, okay, thank you.
I don't have an answer. I don't know if Carlos is on. He would have.
You can try to find out and come back.
I will find out.
Okay, I'll find out. Okay. I know there's been a discussion. I just don't know that we have the capacity and the staff enough to have that entrance open. I think they were checking into it. Thank you.
The second question about evening services is around the cafe. And can the cafe stay open a bit longer for evening students? Charles, maybe that's just, you can ask MBJ around business and how business is at certain hours.
Sure, I will check on that. I don't disagree that it would be nice to have them open at least until 6 o'clock for folks coming onto campus at that hour.
Mm-hmm. If we could gauge a little overlap. So I know that there may be a second set of classes that are later, but if that last afternoon group was capable of getting something, that may be what we need to look at. Okay. All right, other questions? Anybody have announcements or anything? You could put something in the chat. Any other questions? So I'm loving how the campus looks on Mondays and Wednesdays. As you all can imagine, that's when we have the most students here. They are making study hall, socially distant study hall anywhere they can. That's what I call it. So everybody goes and finds their little place to be, and they keep their mask on other than when they're eating. And they seem to be, I see people taking their online courses in between their in-person courses or the sort. So it makes my heart sing. As a reminder, I don't know, Provost, if you want to speak to this, there will be a fluid conversation around modality for sure. And I tell you why I know this, because we are accredited to be an in-person institution, right? That accreditation, flexibility, and what's been happening now has been because of COVID. As things move along, and Provost, you can help me if I say something out of turn, keep me clear. As things move along, they will have to look at modality as a real conversation, right? Because we will not be allowed to just profoundly wipe our hands and say, oh, we're all online now. That's not a thing that can happen. We were 97% in person as a college prior to COVID. So the real question is, what are the nuances of the timing of how we go back there, right? Did I say that? Did I leave anything out, Provost?
No, that was perfectly said. And I would add to that, as far as I understand, because again, the conversations around online education that you guys had predate me, but as I understand it, most of the discussions were around asynchronous online courses and what goals and guidelines you wanted for those courses. I don't believe anything's really been discussed around synchronous online courses. And so that's a discussion, again, that I think that the college community is going to have going forward, as I think that's going to be part of our course offerings in the future. And again, along with this, we need to kind of have a discussion of a bigger picture in terms of what do we want our online presence to be as a college. And so these are conversations that if you haven't started having them informally, please do, because at some point in time in the near future, we're going to have them formally as a community. It'd be good to have that conversation started. Thank you.
On top of that, it will be connected to a larger university conversation, right? And also our accreditation. So that's just to share that. All right, are we missing any questions, comments, concerns?
We have a few questions in the chat. There's a question about the escalators from the upper floors to the second floor and when those might be working.
Yeah, so we are a little upset. The elevators were commissioned about a month ago, and there's one elevator that continues to be problematic. Obviously, they're all still under warranty. They have come back several times, and we will continue to work to get them to that. There's one escalator in particular that is an issue, and we're at a loss as to why. But again, they're still under warranty. They were only commissioned in August, so believe me, I notice it every day because I would use that elevator. So we're working on getting that fixed.
There is a question about library and recreation fees being returned since we don't have access to the facilities. One of our library staff did put a note in the chat that there are no library fees, but what I want to point out is the decision about fees is a university policy that is decided about collection of fees or refund of fees. And so we work in line with what the university policy is around fees. But just to point out, and Scott, if you want to add to this, I know that the library is open virtually and students can still access research and a number of things, as well as students have the ability to, and I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly, they can take out or return books, but they can't be in the library. It's a process that takes place up front in the library. So you still have access to the library. Scott, is that an accurate reflection of your work right now?
What they can do is sit in the library and use the computers. The computer room is 2E03, I believe, or 2. Claudio, you would know the number better than I do. We have it on our door. I don't have it memorized, but they have places to go sit. They can sit in the library. If they want access, if they want books, they can take books out by checking our catalog and seeing if we own them. And if we don't own them, they can request them from another CUNY. They'll be sent to the library, and then we will send them a form. Then they can choose when to come pick it up, and the book will be all ready. That's a book from anywhere, any CUNY.
Thank you. So it was clarified in the chat that room is AC2E03A. That's a mouthful, but it's in the chat. That is the room that's available for drop-in and use of computers. And there was also a follow-up from VP Karen that recreation and student activities continue to occur virtually and in person. So check the Cardinal app and check social media and your York email for those activities. And the Student Health Center is giving out flu shots, and the information is in the chat. You can contact Student Health Services about flu shot information. And the students still have access to electronic resources 24/7 virtually right now. So the students have access to the information. And VP Karen put in the chat that if students are having a problem identifying computer lab or spaces, go over to the One Stop Welcome Center and a team member there will help you find a space. Switching gears a little bit, there is a question in the chat. Does OAA think of conducting an online survey to see what modality students prefer?
As of now, no, we are not considering that for a couple of reasons. The first being that we feel that the course modality really should be based upon the pedagogical needs of the course. And we want to make sure that that remains under the control of the faculty and the department. The second reason is that we would need to be able to kind of tease apart the answer. It wouldn't just be a, yes, I prefer my courses online, or no, I prefer my courses remote, or I prefer them hybrid. We'd have to get at the reasons why and whether or not it depends upon the course type. So there'd be a lot going into that survey, and I'm not quite sure whether or not the information that we would get out of it would be worth the effort to put the survey together. But we are more than open to the idea if there is a large consensus that we should do it. And we have specific goals in mind as to what we want to do with that information.
Thank you for that. All right, so we got the chat going. Thank you, everybody, for your great questions and your information. The information sharing, thank you. And we are recording, I believe, am I right, Claudio, so that we can post our town hall, and people who are not able to come can always look at it. All right, additional questions, concerns, shout outs, thank yous, anything. Just want to be sure we're covering it. The whole goal is for us to find this virtual space to be together, for people to have a space to ask questions and also get updates. We've been very focused during these town halls on COVID because I want to be sure that we over communicate our messages, but also we should use this space if there's any other general update that you have, but also do you have a question that we could keep in mind for the future? Okay, all right, thank you.
I don't see any additional questions in the chat.
Okay. Well, we're doing pretty good. It's 12:40. We usually do an hour, so we'll hang on for a little while to be sure nobody has a question or a concern. I don't like to end early without knowing. So we have flu shots, right? We have flu shots going. One Stop Welcome Center. You need to tell people to go there to get help if they need help. Everyone on this call is going to encourage people to know that there's status for entering, right? If you need help, there is help. If you haven't figured out how to get that on your phone, help us spread the word that there is help if they need help making sure that they know the entry process, right? We had a couple of other great updates on the numbers of vaccinated. We actually are not, we are not one of the colleges that has some of the highest number of non-vaccinated students. There are a few colleges in CUNY that are in very, very drastic shape around non-vaccinated students. So this conversation of the deregistration for some of our other colleagues is going to be quite dire. And I will use the provost's words from earlier. We want to be as surgical as possible, with the goal being to avoid any of our students who don't need to be in that situation being there. So we're doing all that we can. All right, anything?
So thank you. Raquel put information about tutoring at the Collaborative Learning Center, information there with a link if students are in need of tutoring. And there was a question, would accreditation be a factor in York's ability to be responsive to student preference for modalities?
Absolutely, yeah. So our accreditors have very clear guidelines on what we are accredited to offer. And so if we want to change our modality structure for our courses, after a certain point, we would need to be reaccredited. So yes.
And our current our current situation is a temporary, right? A temporary situation granted by the governor, am I right? Or by the state relationship with the accreditor? How did it work? So everybody remembers how we got where we are. Do you remember?
So yes, so the two.
I feel like that's what.
There are two bodies, the New York State body and middle states.
Gotcha.
And yes, the New York State body, that was
Yep.
brokered by the governor. The
Gotcha.
middle states, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that was more federal than state.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Other questions? So since we have 11 Fridays to the holiday break, there are a couple of other things. I know that our student leaders are trying to figure out a creative way to have their annual Thanksgiving or Friendsgiving holiday celebration. I'm not sure if that's going to be, we're not sure what's going to happen with that, but they are busy thinking about their legacy for this year. I want to thank our new student government president and all the members of the student development team that have been supporting them as they onboard virtually. So that's the plug for that. I did, let's see, what else did I see? I hope that we will be able to celebrate our faculty that have particularly special productivity in the area of scholarship and or writing this fall in some formal way. So I'm going to work on that a little bit, and I'm hoping to kick off our President's Commission for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So stay tuned for some of that. Okay, is there a question I missed? I saw the chat was going, it's doing something. Can we have physics tutor in the tutoring center? Okay, I'll let somebody else take that one. We may have to look into that.
So two things. One is that the physics department themselves, they've got some people who are doing tutoring. So if you can't find a physics tutor in the Collaborative Learning Center, then go ahead and go to the physics department. And I just got a list of the topics that are being offered for tutoring. I can go ahead and forward that. I don't have it at my fingertips right now, though.
Okay, thank you. Anything else I'm missing, Dana? We good?
I think we're all caught up.
Okie dokie.
Right. President, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I would like to take advantage of this captive audience to make reference that this month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and the holidays are around the corner. We are kicking off our campaign, bringing back our security awareness training that is sponsored by Central Office. Just making sure that people remember not to click on that link that you don't know what it is. It's not worth it getting a virus for an Amazon card for $50. Remember, nobody in this group will ask you to email you a gift card from Amazon to buy an Amazon card. So don't fall from that. We are blocking. We're blocking daily. We're blocking over 50,000 emails. There are suspicious email, and they carry either ransomware or some kind of virus that goes through our firewalls. And we have to make sure that we are responsible browsers and we click responsible. Just keep that in mind. Don't be a victim. Don't be a victim. If you click in the wrong place, that may happen.
He would not be an IT professional if he did not tell us that every time he gets a chance to. So
Yeah,
obviously, you all let the chat get too loose and you had to get it. You would have been spared.
Yes.
All right, Dana.
VP Karen, there's a question about who staffs the one-stop welcome center, and is there a listing of the services that it provides?
So thanks for the question. Let me start off by saying that the One-Stop Welcome Center is the vision of the leadership of admission, financial aid, bursar, registrar, and advisement. This has been research that had been taking place prior to my arrival. And the rationale for putting it together was to have a singular place for issues that students have that could be triaged, and the attempt to solve it in that space before having students stand online at any one of those 5 offices. So a pilot was done. The space was set up near the entrance of the Guy Brewer entrance of the academic core building. And it was set up in time for the first day of classes. So first of all, thank you to facilities for that. What we found was that students came with everything. They came with concerns that could be addressed by those 5 offices and then additional concerns. A big shout out to IT for being in place when that center opened, because I have to say a significant number of the concerns from students were IT related. Everything from getting on to our Wi-Fi to folks being stuck with Blackboard. I know that Greed's area worked very closely with IT as well, trying to resolve some of those concerns. As time passed on away from the opening of school to dealing more with the documents that needed to be uploaded or issues with the Cardinal app, health services also became very pivotal in that space. So health services, along with IT and the Big 5, we also were able to allow students to go through the virtual office hours for those 5 offices as well. And I know at the beginning of classes, there were members from the advisement team doing advisement directly in the space, course changes, and just assisting folks in general. And certainly the same thing was happening with admission. Who staffs it? Student affairs and student services staff members. Many of them volunteered, some were voluntold, but it all just came together. And so right now we have a few folks who are directly connected to the VP of Student Development's office, who are handling that traffic, because right now it's a little less slow than it was at the opening of school, but it's pretty steady depending on the day. So I hope I've answered all the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? I think we're at 12:50. We're within the grace period. If there is no one else, I don't want to hold you all, but I love to see your faces and I want to be sure that we answer your questions. Please, please, please encourage the students to reach out and get help. Please support the faculty and the staff in this, reopening, ongoing transition space. There will be ongoing guidance. We will have to continue to communicate our concerns, but also our hopes, right? So that spring semester will be just as successful as this semester has attempted to be. I appreciate your patience. I know that it's been hard. I know people are tired. The COVID fatigue is real. So please support each other and exercise quite a bit of self-care if you can. Remember, there is an employee assistance program that provides mental health services. We have mental health services for our students. We have a food bank for our students. Oh, VP Karen, or either one of you all, do you want to speak to a little bit around the application for funds that are available for students who experience distress? Did we cover that?
We didn't cover that, but what I will say is there are funds available, yes, for those who have experienced loss during the tropical storm. Maybe it was a hurricane at this point. I'm foggy.
Ida.
But we continue to have funding available for students who have COVID-related expenses and loss. And then there are folks, I should mention, who may not have qualified or received funding from the CUNY comeback debt sort of relief program. There is a hardship application. So when you click on any one of those applications, it leads you to all of the applications that I just mentioned, for Petrie, for One York, And so I would encourage you, if you have students that you work with that have had any sort of loss, please direct them to our online links for for the One York funding, for Petrie funding, as well as for the CUNY comeback hardship funding. And you will be reviewed and considered for all funding available, you meaning the student.
All right, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
We put
All right.
we put the information in the chat for the student development Petrie application that's in the chat. And we also put information, there's information in the chat about the employee assistance program if employees need counseling, mental health support. And there's also a link in the chat for open house. Spread the word. The admissions team, the enrollment team is working hard on virtual programming for open house, and the information is on a slider, and you'll find it in the chat as well.
Okay, sounds good. And sounds like we're probably beginning to lose people. So thank you for your participation. I think that we're going to sign off. I want everybody to stay healthy. Take care of yourselves. Look out on the website, check your email, and take care of each other and be safe. All right, everybody good? Okay. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.